child is in hospital, they can easily lose contact with their friends. It is vital that friends stay in touch, because when your child comes out of hospital and returns to normal life, they will need their friends network. As a parent, you too will need the support of your friends. Sometimes it can be very difficult to maintain old friendships following your cancer journey. There may be times when you come up against reactions from family and friends that seem strange, insensitive, or uncaring. Some people may even avoid you.
When we're thinking about how to prepare extended systems around the child, so extended family, friends, their school friends, about the cancer diagnosis or the child's illness, it can be useful to make sure you're giving them some useful, truthful information, but also making sure that you're not telling them anything that's going to be unhelpful for the child going through the treatment, the illness, to hear from them. Children do talk at school, and it can be, my mum told me, you have. And as long as you're consulting with the family first, what have they told their child? So then what can you tell your child about this illness? That can be a very difficult question to ask parents going through that, but they'd probably rather know than not know that you were going to be preparing your children.
I just didn't even realise, and I just treated him like he was a normal kid, because that's what he was to me.
Of course, everyone treats you differently, and you don't really want that. I wouldn't want to be treated differently. I didn't want it, and of course I was, and that made me more unhappy than the whole thing could have, really. I just wanted to go back to my normal day-to-day life.
That makes it 10 times worse when you walk into a room and everyone stops talking immediately, and it's just like, she's normal, you know, she's here, she's just say hello to her, just talk to her, just do something, don't ignore her.
I mean, I think one of the helpful strategies in my learning from children and families can sometimes be is helping children develop a story or a narrative or a response to some of the very many questions that they may inevitably be asked. Other children are naturally curious. They will say things, even if whole classes are told about what's happening to a member of within their class. They will ask questions, and children just developing and being supported to develop a way of responding can just help them have a sense of mastery, control, not feeling totally at sea if these questions arise.
Sometimes when we work with young people who have a diagnosis, we might prepare something, depending on their age, like a credit card size. I have. That means. So it kind of almost like a little snapshot. I'm still me, but at the minute I have to go to the doctors quite often. I have something in my head called a X, whatever the child is naming that. It might be that they've chosen a pet name, which can be useful in some circumstances. It could be that they're calling it a cancer. It could be that they're calling it a tumour. Different labels are helpful for different children and different families, so you need to consult with that family as to what they're saying and what they're using. I think sometimes friends feel very scared of what their best friend is going through. So if a family can sit down with their child and say, look, Ben is ill at the minute. He does have something called cancer. What do you think that means? Well, at the minute, that doesn't mean that he's going to die, but it means that he's going to be away from school quite a lot. He might change the way he looks a little bit, but he won't want you to be scared of him. He still needs to play. What's his favourite toy? What's his favourite game? What's the thing you love doing the most? We still need to make sure we're doing that. Have the children over for tea. Do all the things you used to do, treatment permitting, of course, because in some circumstances the mixing with other children is kind of postponed. But actually, the families and children who are going through this want to be treated like they're not lepers, like they're not in a no-go zone all of a sudden. They need that personal human connection, and I would encourage that keeps going no matter what, your fears, your worries.
They're like Laura's friends. They're not mine anymore.
It's quite sad that she doesn't keep in touch with her old friends. I mean, I'm guessing it's because Danielle and Laura have got the same friends, and they've kind of gone on to different things, and Danielle hasn't.
I don't want them anyway because, like, they're old now.
They do treat her differently. They kind of baby her. Whereas Laura's new friends that she's got from her new school, Danielle, they've known her only since she's had treatment, so they know what she's like now, so they don't tend to.
They are nice, but I just think I'm different, so no, I'm just different now.
Yeah.
My friend had a bad limp and a fat face, but he was still the same person. He still had the same personality. And I remember sitting out in the garden with him, and he was just telling me jokes and making me laugh. And he was still my friend, even though he looked different.
I think many children say, just because their experience has been so different to many of their friends, the friends that really do understand them as much as anyone can is the friends who they've had most contact with.
He wasn't one of them. He wasn't an average, normal kid. Well, that made me feel sad because people didn't invite him to their parties because they didn't really know him much, because they thought, oh no, that kid's just boring. All he can do is sit down in a wheelchair.
I was just your average 12-year-old, sporty, athletic, whatever, and steroids changed everything, It was all a bit of a mess.
When thinking about the child who has a diagnosis, going through treatment, being in hospital for long periods of time, that's the time where they're going to need to see their friends. They're going to need to stay connected. Obviously, we're in the world of social media, using things like Skype, FaceTime, different mechanisms where you can dial in and see each other still. It can be useful that friends and family keep that contact going, because what we do notice with children is that they will change appearance and they will have different gadgets poking out of their skin or lines here, and treatment results in hair loss, change of body image, change of lots of different features of that child. And actually, if you're away from them for long periods of time, we all know that that can be quite a shock and a surprise, and then children may find it difficult to deal with. If you keep in connection and watch someone's journey bit by bit, you begin to adjust. And actually, from families that I've spoken to and I've heard of, that could also be very useful, and the child could be more accepting of the patient's cancer journey.
Her friends came, quite a few of her friends came in to see her when she was in hospital, and I remember one of the mums coming up one day with a picnic, and she brought one of Danielle's friends, and they had a picnic on the hospital bed, which was quite nice. So, but a lot of mums were scared to bring their children in because they were scared of what they were seeing. Danielle was in pads, and she didn't have much hair, she had tubes everywhere, and a lot of people I don't want my children to see that, which is quite sad, I think, because I think it would have done them. Well, certainly the children that did see her in hospital treat her much differently now, and better, I think. The children that have been through it with her treat her normally, if you like, now, because they've seen it, and so it's nothing. Not nothing, but you know what I mean? Whereas the children that haven't seen that are a bit like, whoa, I didn't realise she had that, do you know what I mean?
They treat you a little weirdly at first, but they still want to be your friend like normal again. So they just don't want to take any chances, because obviously it's a big thing. They don't want to do or say the wrong thing because they don't want to get in trouble, and so. But eventually they do calm down about the whole thing, or they keep it to themselves, I don't know which. But the teachers, I would say, were a little more concerned about the whole thing.
And I remember one of my friends had told her children that Danielle had a bad ear infection. And I was like, really, do you think that's a good idea? Because, well, God forbid them getting an ear infection. Is that what's going to happen to them? Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes they're only 7, but you can say it in a way that it's not scary. Well, it'll always be a little bit scary to a 7-year-old, won't it? But I don't think lying's the way around it. I think the more truth that you tell in a roundabout way is probably better for them. It's not so spooky and so scary if you know.
If you have been affected by childhood cancer and would like advice, or simply to talk to someone who understands, please go to the Joss Searchlight website, www.josssearchlight.org.uk, where you can find full contact information. Thank you.